Gentlemen, today we're diving deep into one of the most puzzling dynamics of modern dating. Why some women sleep with certain men instantly, while flat out rejecting others. And before we jump to surface-level answers like he's good looking or he's rich, let me tell you, it goes much deeper than that. A woman's decision to sleep with a man is often driven by emotional impact rather than any logical checklist or deliberate plan. This is where most men get it wrong. They assume that attraction is a step-by-step formula. That if they check enough boxes, be kind, be available, show interest, she'll eventually warm up and reward them with intimacy. But human attraction, especially in women, doesn't operate on a reward system based on fairness or predictability. Women are emotionally wired, especially when it comes to intimacy. They're not scanning a man for his resume of good traits. They're scanning for how he makes them feel in the moment, and this emotional response is instinctive, almost primal. If a man can stir something in her that feels alive, mystery, intensity, excitement, danger, or even just curiosity, that moment becomes unforgettable. It bypasses rational thought and speaks directly to her emotions. She won't need time to process or weigh the pros and cons. The feeling will tell her everything she needs to know. Think about it. The man she sleeps with instantly might not even be her type, on paper. He may not be as good looking or as successful as others she knows, but he made her feel something unique, something unpredictable and raw. That emotional trigger, whether it's the way he speaks, the way he holds eye contact, or the calm confidence in his silence, cuts deeper than logic ever can. On the other hand, men who try to appeal to logic, who try to make sense to her mind rather than speak to her body and emotions, end up being categorized as safe, sweet, or not now. These men may be everything she wants in theory, but if they can't make her asterisk feel asterisk that spark in the moment, they get overlooked. Emotional impact is what opens the door to physical desire, and the deeper the emotional impression, the faster she responds. It's about presence, mystery, energy, and the ability to leave a psychological fingerprint that lingers. She's not sleeping with the man because of who he is on paper. She's surrendering to the feeling he ignites in her body and mind. Sexual attraction at its core is not based on compatibility, looks, or even conversation. It's rooted in energy, and the energy that draws a woman in most powerfully is masculine polarity. This is not some cliché about being alpha or dominant in a shallow way. Masculine polarity means a man who is centered, grounded, emotionally self-regulated, and knows exactly who he is and what he stands for. It's not about being louder, stronger, or more intimidating. It's about embodying calm, unwavering certainty in a world that's full of noise. That kind of energy creates a gravitational pull. Women, especially feminine, in-energy women, are subconsciously seeking this. They want a man who can hold his own, who doesn't flinch, doesn't fold under pressure, doesn't chase like he's starving. Masculine polarity is stability. It's the storm contained in silence. A man who doesn't need to prove himself with flashiness or validation. The moment he walks into a room, people feel something different about him. Not because he's trying to be seen, but because he doesn't need to be. He is presence. He is stillness that demands attention without ever asking for it. Women are deeply attracted to that kind of man because he offers what so many men do not: emotional leadership. And emotional leadership doesn't mean controlling her or dictating every step. It means guiding the moment, directing the energy, and creating a space where she can relax, trust, and surrender. Feminine energy naturally wants to open, but only to someone who is strong enough to hold her without collapsing. Masculine polarity provides that container. It's not just about dominance in the bedroom. It's about a man who dominates his own mind, his own world, and his own direction in life. That's why women gravitate sexually toward men who carry that masculine presence. Not because he flexed his muscles or drove a flashy car, but because he didn't waver. He didn't look to her for approval. He didn't ask how she wanted him to behave. He was already sure. And that sureness, that deeply embodied masculine clarity, makes her feel something rare, safe enough to let go, excited enough to lose control, and curious enough to explore. When a woman feels that polarity, the rules of time disappear. She doesn't need 3 dates or a dozen phone calls. Her body already knows. Her instincts already feel it. She leans in, not because she planned to, but because his masculine presence disrupted her pattern and woke something up that she didn't even know she was craving. Sexual polarity is the magnetic force behind instant attraction, and at the heart of this polarity is masculine energy. It's not just about physical dominance or bravado. True masculine polarity runs much deeper. It's about how a man carries himself in every moment, the energy he exudes, the steadiness of his demeanor, the calm assertiveness in his actions, and the way he holds space, not only for himself, but also for the woman in front of him. Women respond to this polarity in ways that are often subconscious and instinctual. When a woman encounters a man who is fully in his masculine, she feels something in her body that bypasses words or reasoning. It's an ancient primal recognition. She may not be able to articulate it, but her emotions, her hormones, and her nervous system react. This man becomes attractive not because of his looks or status, but because of the contrast he creates. His solid presence gives her permission to soften, to feel, to express, to surrender. Feminine energy thrives in freedom, fluidity, and emotional expression, but it seeks something to anchor itself to. Masculine polarity is that anchor. A man who is deeply rooted in his masculinity does not seek approval. He does not perform. He does not chase. Instead, he moves with purpose and acts from a place of self-possession. He doesn't over-explain, over-text, or overcompensate. He listens more than he speaks. He speaks with precision and confidence, not just to impress, but because his words carry weight. This kind of man naturally becomes the object of desire because his energy makes a woman feel safe and excited at the same time. He's not looking for her to lead. He leads the moment. Not in a controlling or arrogant way, but in a way that tells her he's capable of guiding not just conversations or plans, but energy itself. She can feel it in the way he walks, the stillness in his silence, the directness in his gaze. There's a certain tension that builds around him, and that tension is exactly what fuels feminine desire. Women are naturally drawn to polarity because it provides a dynamic contrast that creates sexual charge. Two similar energies repel each other. If a man comes to her with neediness, softness, or indecision, she feels no pull. That's because there's no energetic dance, no balance. But when she meets a man who embodies masculine energy, it creates the exact opposite of what she experiences all day in the modern world, where she's expected to be strong, logical, efficient, and in control. This man makes her feel feminine again. He allows her to relax into that part of herself that rarely gets to come out. And when a woman feels that deeply feminine response, triggered by his masculine polarity, the urge to be close to him, to connect, to give herself to that energy, becomes overwhelming. This is why some men, even without trying, become instantly sexually attractive to women. Their masculine essence communicates without words. It bypasses the intellect and goes straight to her instincts. It's not about games or manipulation. It's about energy alignment, and the man who understands this, who learns to embody masculine polarity in his daily life, not just during a date, but as his default state, will never have to beg for intimacy. He will find that women naturally gravitate toward him, often in powerful and immediate ways, because they are not responding to what he says. They're responding to who he is. When it comes to the question of why women sleep with some men instantly while others get rejected or friends owned, one of the most overlooked but powerful explanations is the concept of fantasy versus reality. Women are not always making decisions based on practical reasoning. Often, their choices are heavily influenced by the emotional experience a man gives them in a fleeting moment. Some men are able to tap into the realm of fantasy, an emotionally heightened, unpredictable, and thrilling space that makes a woman feel alive. These men may not be the most stable, reliable, or safe choices for a long-term partner, but that's not what triggers instant intimacy. What gets her to drop her guard and act on impulse is the way a man activates a deeper psychological narrative within her, the fantasy of being swept away, of being wanted with intensity, of experiencing something unlike the ordinary. That fantasy bypasses the mind and goes straight into the emotional and physical body. She doesn't sleep with the man because he fits a plan. She sleeps with him because he feels like a departure from the predictable. These men who become instant objects of desire often carry an edge, not necessarily a dangerous one, but an aura of mystery, detachment, or even danger that makes a woman curious and alert. They create a contrast to what she experiences in day-to-day life. They don't offer safety in the conventional sense. They offer stimulation. They are unpredictable. They don't follow the standard dating script. They don't reveal their hand too soon. This triggers a woman's imagination. She starts to fill in the blanks. She wonders what his story is, where he's going, what it would feel like to get close to him. That psychological projection is powerful. The man becomes more than just a person. He becomes an experience, a curiosity, an emotional high. And many times it's that very high that leads to her wanting to act on desire quickly, not because she's shallow, not because she's irresponsible, but because in that moment he represents something rare, an escape from logic, from control, from the ordinary rhythm of life. On the other hand, the men who are often rejected or placed in the nice guy category are usually those who represent reality. They are stable, available, and emotionally transparent from the beginning. While these qualities are valuable, they don't activate the fantasy. Instead, they signal predictability. The nice guy feels safe but not thrilling. He shows up, he follows the rules, and he communicates directly, sometimes too directly. And while all of this might be perfect for a long-term connection, it doesn't create urgency. There's no emotional spike, no element of the unknown, and so a woman may genuinely like him, but she doesn't feel compelled to act on physical desire. She doesn't feel that magnetic pull because there's no tension. Everything is laid out too neatly. He becomes emotionally legible, and as a result, he becomes less stimulating. This doesn't mean he lacks value. It just means he doesn't trigger her imagination, and without that, there's often no fast track to intimacy. Fantasy, then, becomes the real gatekeeper. It decides which men enter her world on a deep, visceral level. The men who live inside that fantasy space don't need to ask for anything. They don't need to try to seduce or convince. Their very presence is a form of seduction, and often it's not even about what they do, it's about what they withhold. Their mystery, their silence, their unpredictability becomes a canvas for her projections, and that canvas is far more potent than any rehearsed pickup line or carefully crafted text message. It allows her to create a version of him in her mind that matches her most intense desires, even if only for one night, and that projection, that emotional intensity, becomes the bridge to instant intimacy. One of the most powerful yet often invisible forces that influence a woman's decision to sleep with a man instantly, or to reject him without hesitation, is her sensitivity to confidence, social cues, and perceived status. Women are biologically and socially attuned to hierarchy. It's not necessarily about wealth or fame in the obvious sense, but rather the subtle dominance a man displays in how he interacts with the world and how the world responds to him. From an evolutionary standpoint, women have always sought out men who offer the best chance of security, survival, and high genetic quality. In today's modern context, that primitive instinct still operates, just in more nuanced ways. It's not about hunting ability anymore, but rather about who commands space, who gets respect without demanding it, who others follow, who walks into a room and shifts the energy simply by being there. That's the kind of man who sparks immediate desire, because status, as perceived by a woman, is a direct reflection of a man's inner world, his confidence, his belief in himself, and his ability to navigate life without hesitation or dependence on external validation. Women pick up on these signals extremely fast. It's not just about the man's looks or car or job title. It's how he uses his voice, how he holds eye contact, how he moves through space, how other people react to him, how grounded or shaky he seems in his own skin. A man with high social calibration doesn't seek approval. He assumes his place. He isn't loud or obnoxious to gain attention. Instead, he operates with quiet certainty, with poise, and with intention. And that creates a ripple effect. Other men defer to him subtly. People listen when he speaks. He walks into a room and people notice not because he's demanding it, but because there's a gravitational quality to his presence. And when a woman sees that, something instinctual in her recognizes that he is a man of value. Even if she doesn't fully understand why, her emotional system responds. That response can translate into attraction so powerful that she feels compelled to act on it quickly, sometimes without knowing his name, his history, or his intentions. The opposite is also true. A man who radiates neediness, who visibly seeks validation, who puts her on a pedestal from the start, he signals low value. He may be kind, generous, even physically attractive, but if he lacks that grounded self-belief, that unshakable core, she will sense it instantly. Women are extremely intuitive when it comes to reading energy. They can detect insecurity masked as arrogance, approval, seeking disguised as flattery, and desperation hidden beneath the surface of charm. And once she feels that energy, she often loses all sexual interest, because her body doesn't feel safe or drawn towards someone who lacks inner power. She may enjoy the attention, even appreciate the effort, but she won't feel the impulse to surrender, to lean in, or to explore physical intimacy. Her instincts are telling her, this man doesn't lead himself, so how can he ever lead her? Moreover, confidence isn't loud. The most magnetic men are often the ones who speak the least, but say the most when they do. They don't try to win anyone over. They show up as they are. They know their worth isn't based on how many women find them attractive or how many people validate their behavior. And paradoxically, it's that very detachment from the need to impress that makes them deeply impressive. Women admire men who don't flinch when challenged, who hold their position with calm, and who navigate social dynamics with ease. These traits suggest mastery, not just of external things, but of the self. And women trust that. They trust the man who doesn't chase, who doesn't explain himself endlessly, and who doesn't need her to fill a void in his life. That trust creates the emotional safety and intrigue that lead to fast, sometimes instant, intimacy. Because in that man she sees strength, not just physical or financial, but psychological. And that kind of strength is what draws her in more powerfully than anything he could ever say. One of the more subtle but incredibly influential factors in whether a woman chooses to sleep with a man instantly lies in the emotional contrast he provides compared to her current environment or experiences. Most women live in a world of routine, repetition, and emotional predictability. Whether she's busy with work, surrounded by emotionally flat conversations, or caught in the same patterns of interaction with people who never really see her, this daily rhythm can become numbing. What happens when a man enters her world and instantly disrupts that rhythm? What happens when his energy, words, presence, or unpredictability provides a stark contrast to what she's used to? That contrast is where the emotional ignition takes place. Women are emotionally driven creatures, and a man who brings them out of emotional monotony and into a space of heightened feeling, whether that's excitement, nervousness, playfulness, tension, or intensity, becomes instantly memorable. And that emotional spike can bypass the typical filters and delays of courtship and move directly into desire, because suddenly she's not thinking anymore. She's feeling. And feeling deeply. This emotional contrast doesn't have to come from dramatic actions or flashy performances. Often it's in the subtle rebellion a man represents. He doesn't behave like the others. He doesn't compliment her the same way. He doesn't follow the script she's heard 100 times. While others tiptoe around her, he challenges her playfully. While others try to win her approval, he maintains indifference and curiosity. He doesn't rush. He doesn't react. He observes her with a kind of knowing look that suggests he's not trying to get anything from her. He's simply enjoying what she offers without needing it. That alone is a huge disruption. Most men operate from a place of please, pick me energy. The moment a woman encounters a man who doesn't do that, who instead shows a grounded sense of self paired with emotional unpredictability, he becomes different. And in being different, he becomes dangerous, in a good way. He activates something in her that the world around her fails to reach. He makes her feel alive. Even more powerful is the man who can weave both comfort and intensity into the same interaction. A man who can simultaneously make her feel safe and uncertain, safe enough to trust him, uncertain enough to stay alert. That tension is magnetic. It pulls her toward him like a moth to flame. When a woman feels emotionally activated like that, she's no longer just listening to his words or assessing his profile. She's fully immersed in the experience. Her guard drops. Her body takes over. The moment becomes about about how she feels when she's around him and whether she wants more of that feeling. If the answer is yes, the usual rules, like how long she should wait or whether he's a perfect match, fade into the background. She may surprise even herself by how quickly she chooses to be vulnerable with him, but it's not random. It's because of the emotional contrast he brought into her world. Most men underestimate this factor because they focus too much on logic. They believe they need to prove themselves to a woman with facts, good job, clean record, respectful behavior. And while these are important in the long run, they don't stir a woman emotionally in the present. If she's not feeling something unique, she doesn't act. But if a man walks in and becomes a moment of color in her gray day, if he introduces chaos into her order or calm into her chaos, he becomes emotionally unforgettable. That contrast rewires her perception. He is no longer just another man. He is the moment that shifted her emotional state. And often, that emotional shift is the very thing that leads her to act quickly, impulsively, and without the usual mental hesitation. Because now, it's not about strategy. It's about feeling. And feelings, when strong enough, always override logic. Another powerful factor behind why a woman might choose to sleep with a man instantly lies in how deeply he understands and mirrors her emotional world without trying to fix or control it. Most men operate with a logical framework. They listen to a woman's words, assess the situation rationally, and often rush to offer solutions, advice, or redirections. But this logical approach, while well-intentioned, often fails to create emotional connection or arousal. Women don't crave answers from men. They crave attunement. They want to be felt, not fixed. When a man can show a woman that he sees her, not just her body, not just her surface-level personality, but the nuances of her mood, her emotional rhythm, and her contradictions, he triggers something rare and intimate. He demonstrates emotional intelligence, but in a way that isn't performative. He isn't doing it to gain access to her body. He's doing it because he's sensitive to energy. And that ability to listen beneath her words, to reflect her experience back to her, and to be present without needing to dominate the space, is a profoundly seductive trait. This emotional mirroring makes a woman feel safe and deeply understood. She realizes that she doesn't have to explain everything. She doesn't have to simplify her feelings or package them neatly. She can just be fluid, emotional, irrational, or intense. And he doesn't flinch. He doesn't shrink back. He doesn't try to categorize her or manage her. He stays. He holds presence. That kind of emotional attunement is incredibly rare in a world full of men who either dismiss her feelings or attempt to rationalize them away. When she feels that this man can meet her in her emotional landscape without becoming overwhelmed or judgmental, her trust deepens instantly, and trust is the foundation for desire. Not the trust that he'll never hurt her, but the trust that in this moment she can drop her guard and nothing will collapse. He won't use it against her. He won't lose himself. He'll simply witness her, and witnessing, when done with intention and depth, is one of the most arousing experiences a woman can have. This goes even deeper when the man is not only emotionally attuned, but non-reactive when she tests his energy, whether consciously or not. By shifting tone, pushing boundaries, expressing doubt, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't try to overcompensate or placate her. He simply observes, responds with clarity, or even remains silent. That silence, that ability to be pulled into emotional chaos, is a sign of internal mastery, and it tells her, this man has depth. He's not just present, he's grounded. He can weather storms. He doesn't need her to be pleasant or easy in order to feel secure in himself. That kind of strength gives her permission to explore her own intensity. to be bolder, to be more sensual, to express more freely, because she knows he can handle it. That inner resilience on his part activates her desire, not because she wants to test him, but because she wants to lose control with someone who won't lose control in return. When a woman feels emotionally seen and energetically mirrored, she experiences something sacred being met. Not in the shallow way where a man nods and agrees with her, but in a deeper way where his energy and attention reflect back to her parts of herself that rarely get acknowledged. He might notice her hesitation between words. He might respond to her tone rather than just her language. He might hold eye contact a moment longer when she expects him to look away. All these micro moments create a sense of intimacy that bypasses the mind and sinks into the body. She feels emotionally naked long before anything physical happens, and sometimes that emotional nakedness is what leads to physical nakedness, because she's not being seduced by words or looks. She's being seduced by the rare and intoxicating feeling of being understood without judgment . And for many women, especially those who are constantly misunderstood or put into boxes, that kind of emotional attunement is the ultimate trigger for instant connection, trust, and sexual openness. So when we ask why some women choose to sleep with certain men instantly while rejecting others, the answer rarely lies in surface-level traits like looks or money. It's about energy, presence, contrast, and how a man makes her feel not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. The men who create desire without effort are those who embody confidence without arrogance, mystery without manipulation, strength without force, and emotional depth without losing their own grounding. These are the men who don't chase attention. They command it. They don't rush to impress. They simply are impressive through how they carry themselves. When a woman senses all of this, even subconsciously, she's not just choosing a man, she's responding to an experience, one that bypasses logic and speaks directly to the most primal parts of her. And that's why sometimes the decision to be intimate is made in an instant, because the connection felt inevitable.